statistics has shown that 1 in every 4 Nigerians suffer from one sort of mental illness or the other.
I've had like different types of depression. I had seasonal depression then. Seasonal depression maybe when the weather is dull. After the birth of a child, I had postpartum depression. I had one miscarriage. After the miscarriage too, I had the postpartum depression. I have 3 children. 3 children and 1 miscarriage. So I had postpartum depression. The incidences that happened in the marriage and all that made me to have bipolar disorder.
Like a predator silently stalking its prey, mental illness has crept into our society, taking away promising lives.
I did not know what method to use. If I decided to cut my wrists and I survived it, I will probably not be able to drum again. If I took maybe poison or something and I survived it, probably something might happen to me. I was even thinking about the pain as well, and then thinking about what if I survive it. So I was like, okay, probably I might not survive a hunger strike if I don't eat for a long time. The things I enjoy doing, I just lost interest in them.
In all of this, what role do you play? What role do we all play?
I just knew that if I didn't get help, I was going to die.
Kemi's story tells a lot about the vices in our society today: violence, rape, depression, and other mental disorders. This is her story. This is Spotlights.
First time I thought about it was when I was in SS1, when it was time to decide on my class, my choice of study. I was supposed to be in arts class, science class, or commercial class. So I wanted to be in art class, but my parents wanted me to be either in science class or in the commercial class. So I ended up being in the commercial class, and I ended up studying accounting that I did not want to study. I wanted to study theater arts or maybe literature and English, an art course basically. So that's where the depression came about, where I was not able to choose what I wanted to do, choose the career that I wanted to do. So it started from there. And then afterwards, the second time that it happened, that thought came about was when I was 18. When I was 18, when I had a sexual encounter that I didn't want to have. I was raped at age 18. So that thought came about again. And then another one, the one that finally happened that really shook me was in my marriage. I was in a violent marriage. There was physical violence, financial violence, or what we can call economic violence. There was spiritual violence. There was emotional violence. And all kind of violence that you can think about, it happened in that marriage. And I just wanted to leave, but I was thinking of so many things. I was thinking of my children. I was thinking of what my parents would say, what my siblings would say, what society would say, generally.
Presently now, there are no known causes. However, there are some things we call etiological factors, things that can predispose one to coming down with a mental illness. The first thing is genetics, that's family history. When somebody in the family, the mom, the father, grandfather, somebody in that family already has a mental illness, what that means is the children or the people in that family, they are predisposed to having a mental illness, but it does not mean that they must have a mental illness. It predisposes them to have that mental illness. Another very important thing is childhood trauma, sexual abuse, physical abuse. Abuse is not just sexual alone, emotional neglect, maternal deprivation, amongst other things. All these things go a long way to affect one's mental health in the future. Of course, there's some other things like trauma. There's also some other things like migration, getting pregnant or delivery, when one has a child, there's a propensity, depending on predisposition, to having a mental illness.
That affected me a lot. But when I made up my mind to quit the marriage, I did. If I think about it, I would just say that the marriage was a mistake from the beginning, because I got pregnant before the marriage took place. And then, you know, there were a series of catastrophes and here and there with the mother of my husband. You know, she did not want him to get married at that time, because she felt that he ought to wait a while to work, to take care of his siblings. He's the firstborn, I'm the firstborn as well. So that's where the wahala started. But I was like, well, if you want to go ahead with it, I want to go ahead with it. And according to him, he wanted to go ahead with it. And then we went ahead with the wedding. But that was a red flag. That was a red flag. You know, I consider that a red flag when a family member, especially the mother of, you know, someone does not want you to marry their son. That's a red flag. You should just stay away from that relationship. So that's the first, where it started from. Then what really pained me in that marriage, that made me to be depressed, was the fact that I gave my all. Number one, my parents didn't even want me to marry him, but I was optimistic, because when I met him, he didn't have anything. But I was there. I thought I could support him. You know, I wanted to support him with everything I had, my money, my networks, you know, everything I had. I wanted to support him. So when things, I mean, it just changed. You know, I felt like a stab in my back. So it was very, very painful. That someone that you put your hopes in, I know, and all that could change, turn around to be deceptive. You know, so that's where, I mean, that was a painful part of it. Just generally, it was just a general thing. You know, I can't really say a specific thing. Okay, could I say there were specific instances actually, like how will I say? Okay, the one that specific instances that really, really pained me was one where he had an affair with my friend. Let me call her she was my closest friend then. They had an affair. Another one was where he impersonated me. He impersonated me to take another woman abroad. You know, so many instances, but that's those ones that really, really pained me in the marriage. Let me say I had seasonal depression then. Seasonal depression, maybe when the weather is dull. When I was a teenager, I had seasonal depression. When the weather is dull, I would just be sad because the weather is dull, I'll be sad. Maybe it wants to rain, you know, when the weather is dull, I'll just be sad. So after the birth of each child, I had postpartum depression. I had one miscarriage, you know. After the miscarriage too, I had the postpartum depression. I have 3 children and 1 miscarriage. So I had postpartum depression. Then the incidences that happened in the marriage and all that made me to have bipolar disorder. Sometimes I will be so energetic and high and, you know, be able to do things, and sometimes I will not be able to do anything at all. It can last, the time of my not being able to do anything at all can last for like 2 weeks. I'll just be in one place, probably just sleeping or just lying down, not being able to do anything. And when I can do things, when I'm energetic to do things, I could go on. I could go on for hours. I could keep on walking, you know, like that. So those are basically the 3 types of depression that I've had so far.
Postpartum depression is not just about depression. There is a wide range of signs and symptoms which the patients present with. Although there's an underlying depression, they present with they can be anxious, worrying, they could be irritable, they could be very hungry, they are not coordinating themselves in some manners, and you know, especially after childbirth.
I was just tired of the same scenario. You leave, we come and settle the matter in your family head's house. My own family head too appears, you know. I was just tired of the same rigmarole. So I said, what am I to do? So I kept thinking, like I said, I was thinking of what my parents would say, what my siblings would say, what my children would say, how they would feel. So those are the things that made me to be sad. So for a long time, I did not, I was the only one at home. I didn't even know what to do. So I lost interest in things that gave me, that I do. Like I enjoy drumming, I enjoy singing, songwriting, you know, so the things I enjoy doing, I just lost interest in them. So I was just at home, I didn't take my bath, I didn't eat, my house was just dirty, I was just there.
There's a thin line between normal behavior and abnormal behavior, because sometimes you and I will get sad sometimes, but we'll come out of it. Sadness on its own is when you are not, you are very sad, but when you come in contact with things that make you happy, you come out of the sadness. But depression on the other side, no matter what happens, you still feel horrible with yourself.
On that morning that I knew that it felt like, I just knew that if I didn't get help, I was going to die. So that morning I was like, if I die, what will happen to my children? Because that was the breaking point. That was the time that it was either I lived or I died. So my mind would tell me, okay, just continue, just stay on your own. If you die, I mean, nobody will harass you about your failed marriage. Nobody will harass you about the career that you're not doing, you know, so many things like that. Nobody will just harass you, you'll be free. On the other hand, I thought about my children, what will happen to them? Who's going to take care of them? How would they fare? You know, so I was at that crossroad on that morning, on the morning of September 1, 2016. So basically I thought about my children, so I just picked up my phone and I called my ex, told him that I was not feeling well, you know. So then just as I was talking to him, my landlord's wife came and knocked on my door and said she had not seen me for like 2 weeks. Now what was I doing? You know, just me at home. She did not see me going to the studio. She didn't, I mean, she just came to check on me at that time. So that's how she saw me. I was already looking malnourished, like the way an AIDS patient will look like, as in I was gone. I was looking very skinny. I wasn't looking healthy at all. So she just screamed and called her husband, then she called my mother and told them that they should come, that I was not looking okay. She come and pick me up and take me to the hospital. So as that was going on, her husband came, he took me to the hospital, he called my parents, and my parents came to the hospital to join us. So I was told at the hospital at aviation clinic that they don't treat that kind of case there. They don't treat depression and suicidal case there. You know, I was now referred to Lagos State University Teaching Hospital, LUTH, the psychiatric department there, and that's where I got treatment.
They need the support, they need the confidence, and then when we are saying support them and all that, doesn't mean that they cannot lift this or they cannot do that, or no. Support in, you are nice to them, you ask after them, and if you see that this has passed the just asking after them, this person is, the functioning is affected. Functioning meaning there's a breakdown in relationship, there's a breakdown in personal relationship. She's no longer taking care of herself, she cannot take care of the child, she's not maintaining her relationship with friends, and she cannot even go to work again. Then that has crossed the mark. There's no amount of social help now that can help. So at that time, what the relatives can do is to bring her to the hospital.
I had for like 1 week. Then by the second week, I lost interest in eating. I didn't even wash my plates. My pots, everything was there. They were dirty. I didn't take my bath. I didn't do anything. So before that day, I had not eaten for like 4 days. I don't eat anything. I was just lying down on the couch, doing basically nothing, just staring into space and waiting for the last minute to come. So actually, I was on an hunger strike because I did not know what method to use. If I decided to cut my wrists and I survived it, I will probably not be able to drum again. If I took maybe poison or something and I survived it, probably something might happen to me. You know, I was even thinking about the pain as well, and then thinking about what if I survive it. So I'm like, okay, probably I might not survive a hunger strike if I don't eat for a long time. I'll just be a painless death. So what I was going through was a form of suicide at that point in time. I was just going to have a painless death and not just wake up. So that's just what happened at the time. I didn't even tell my friends. My family, my mother, my parents came that night. My father and my mother came. And then my parents screamed, you know. My mother started crying. And for the sake of my children, I decided to leave. So everything that she was giving me that day, she gave me juice. And later she bought me food. I just decided to eat, to stay alive for the sake of my children. And she was telling me too that whatever happens, think of your children, think of your children, think of your children. So I was optimistic about consulting the psychiatrist that night. So they told me that I was looking malnourished. My siblings too, because after we left the hospital, I did not come back home. They took me to their house in Festac Town. So I was living with them I was there from 2016 September till like 2018 when I left there and got my own apartment. I trust a lot because of the way I am. I feel like people are always like, going to be like me, you know. So, but I realized that no matter what you do, you should not be too trusting. And then you should live your life as not really care, as in the positive. I'm talking about the positive light now. You know, like when people tell you that, no, don't leave the marriage, don't do this, don't do that. Just do what makes you happy. Do what makes you happy. Right now, I'm back to the things that I wanted to do back then, like my music, my writing. You know, even this experience made me to start a coaching session. I call it Divorce Savvy on Facebook, where I give advice to people who want to go through a separation or a divorce, or they want to keep their marriage. Expressive feelings is like how do I say, like a wire that is scattered. You know, like scattered wire. When you're trying to separate different wires, maybe someone ties like 10 different wires together, so they are all lumped up. And you're trying to pick one and separate it from the other. That's how it is in a depressed person's head. Because many people don't know what they are going through. You just think, just snap out of it, you'll be fine. No, it doesn't work like that. The snapping out of depression can take 3 years, can take 5 years for some people. So you can't just snap out of it. You can't just snap out of it and be okay. No. Somebody can sit down like this for 5 years and just be in the same position and be moping. So that's how it is in the mind, in the brain of a depressed person.
There's some things, chemicals in the brain, really, that studies have shown. We have a chemical, we call it happy hormone, that's serotonin hormone, which we found, researchers have found that in patients that are depressed, they have a low level of these hormones in them. So it's beyond them. Mental illness is just like an illness, like a physical illness. It's just like a illness, like when you have malaria or when you have to go for a surgery, you know, or something very that needs attention. Mental health too, it needs attention, it needs help. Then, like I've been stressing, and like what I said before, there is something we call biopsychosocial thing that we try to go with. Apart from drugs or treating them, particularly the social aspect of it is how the family, the neighbors can come around and support the woman at this time. They shouldn't look at it like, because some people see depression and they think that the person is not, she's just lazy, she doesn't want to do anything, that's how she doesn't know. It is now beyond them. That was why I defined what sadness and depression is, so you know that it's not something they want to do. Community-wise, nationwide, and then we should stop looking at mental health as like a cause or a terrible thing or something one should run away from. We should detach ourselves from all the myths and all the things we see on social media or videos, or you know, and then they need to first identify that there's something wrong. If you're listening to this and then you notice that you've not been happy for a while, you've been very sad for at least 2 weeks, either after delivery or not after delivery, but at least after delivery, 6 months after delivery, you notice that you are not happy seeing your child, that you are always tired, that's low energy, that you don't feel interested in doing things, you don't even feel interested in carrying your own child. So they should identify the symptoms, and some of those other symptoms, apart from low mood, loss of interest, low energy, is contrary to low mood. Some people could actually be irritable, they could be very angry, they might not be eating well, they feel worthless, they feel hopeless. And sometimes maybe they start having suicidal ideation, they have guilt feelings that they cannot explain on their own. So identifying this, then you should know that there is something wrong. So after identifying that, of course, in most of general hospitals now, we have psychiatrists. In teaching hospital, particularly LUT, we attend to cases such as that. So they should come out and come to the hospital so that we can help them. Apart from that, something has gone out to the community. We've actually educated the media personnel, because we found out that really the way we put this message out is very, very important. If it's not well translated by the media practitioners, then the community can get a wrong idea from what is going on. So we've had workshops for media personnel, we've had workshops with religious bodies too, because we identify that religious people believe in this part of the world, they believe in, my pastor said this, there's a lot of spiritual influence. So we've also taken into note of that, and we've had a workshop with them to educate them on what to do. Apart from that, there has been a lot of social media awareness. Presently now, we are even trying to bring out a debate to engage the youth so that they can participate more in what is on ground.